New at 6, an Alaska attorney the feds say was part of a cartel pleaded not guilty in federal court today to drug trafficking and firearms charges. 44-year-old Justin Facey appeared very somber in an Anchorage federal courtroom this morning in connection to a case where prosecutors previously charged more than 50 people connected to what they've called an expansive Alaska drug trafficking ring. Prosecutors say that between April of 2024 and April of this year, Facey used his Anchorage home to distribute and use controlled substances.
According to court documents and evidence presented at the trial, the men were leaders, members, and associates of the 1488s, a violent prison-based neo-Nazi gang that operated inside and outside of state prisons throughout Alaska.
Now, the sentencing comes after the 2017 murder of Michael Staton, a former member of the gang in Wasilla, and the kidnapping and assault of 2 people that same year.
Alaska, the land of glaciers, oil, and frontier spirit, is known for its rugged wilderness, breathtaking beauty, and fiercely independent people. It's the home of icons like Olympic skier Tommy Moe, singer Jewel Kilcher, and snowboarder Gus Kingworthy, who all helped shape the state's reputation for endurance and excellence. But beneath the northern lights and snow-capped peaks lies another side of Alaska's story, one marked by rising violence, narcotics trafficking, and the quiet but deadly spread of organized crime. In recent years, the state once thought immune to mainland gang culture has seen a chilling transformation. From Anchorage's Fairview neighborhood to the prison blocks of Spring Creek Correctional Center, criminal networks have emerged, each adapting to Alaska's isolation and exploiting its limited law enforcement resources. Once considered too remote for large-scale gang operations, Alaska has become an unlikely hub for Fenny pipelines, prison gangs, and cartel-backed networks stretching from Los Angeles to Mexico. The arrests and convictions that follow reveal not just isolated crimes, but a growing criminal infrastructure with national and even international reach. What follows is an inside look at 4 of Alaska's most notorious criminal organizations: the Fairview Bloods, the 1488 white supremacist prison gang, and the shocking downfall of Anchorage's cartel attorney, each showing how violence, greed, and addiction have carved their way into the last frontier's underworld. Anchorage's Fairview MOB case marked a historic turning point for Alaska law enforcement, the first time federal prosecutors formally tied a local street gang to a nationally recognized network, the Bloods. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Fairview MOB, short for Members of Bloods, had operated since at least 2012, with members in their 20s running various drugs through Anchorage's Fairview neighborhood and laundering profits through small entertainment and clothing businesses linked to Los Angeles. Investigators say the group maintained contact with blood sets from California, including the Campanella Park Pirus, to source drugs and firearms. The joint federal and local investigation began after Anchorage experienced a surge of homicides and shootings in early 2016. A new task force was formed, combining the FBI, DEA, ATF, and Anchorage police. Wiretaps, surveillance, and social media videos helped build a federal conspiracy case that connected multiple violent incidents, including assaults, attempted deletions, and drug sales near schools, back to the Fairview MOB organization. One defendant, Michael "Boogie" Reynolds, was separately charged in a double homicide from East Anchorage. The indictment ultimately named 12 individuals, 10 from Anchorage and 2 from Los Angeles. 2 suspects, Delano D. Williams of Anchorage and Darren Walton of Los Angeles, were initially fugitives. In the years following the indictment, nearly all of the defendants entered guilty pleas to charges ranging from drug trafficking and money laundering to illegal gun possession. The ringleader, Isaiah Holloway, received a 12-year federal sentence, while co-defendants Lamont Moore and Ishmael Holloway were each sentenced to 10 years. Others received prison terms ranging from 8 months to 5 years depending on their roles in the drug network. Delano Williams eventually received 20 months for his part in the conspiracy, while Walton remained listed as wanted. Federal prosecutors emphasized that the case showcased how national gang structures like the Bloods had spread to Alaska, bringing with them the same violent turf wars seen in major U.S. cities.
5 members and associates of the white supremacist gang have been sent to Alaska this week for life in prison without parole and charged in federal court with for racketeering, kidnapping, and murder.
The convicted include a person formerly known as Timothy Lobdell, age 46, who legally changed his name to Filthy Fuhrer. 46-year-old Roy Naughton, also known as Thumper, 41-year-old Glenn Baldwin, known as Glenn Dog, and 30-year-old Coulter Odell, and 57-year-old Craig King, also known as Okie.
According to court documents and evidence presented at the trial, the men were leaders, members, and associates of the 1488s, a violent prison-based neo-Nazi gang that operated inside and outside of state prisons throughout Alaska.
Now, the sentencing comes after the 2017 murder of Michael Staton, a former member of the gang in Wasilla, and the kidnapping and assault of 2 people that same year. According to the Justice Department, the gang has written rules, a code of conduct, and a creed which states that the only currency we recognize is violence and unquestionable loyalty.
In Alaska's criminal history, few cases have been as disturbing or as far-reaching as the federal takedown of the white supremacist prison gang known as the 1488s. The organization, its name a reference to 2 neo-Nazi slogans, was created around 2010 inside the Spring Creek Correctional Center by Timothy Lobdell, who later legally changed his name to Filthy Fuhrer. From behind bars, Fuhrer imposed a militarized structure on the group, demanding racial purity, loyalty, and absolute obedience. Members carried tattoos showing an iron cross laid over a swastika and enforced their code through kidnappings, assaults, and ritualized patch removals that punish anyone accused of disloyalty or theft. According to federal prosecutors, Fuhrer's influence spread far beyond the prison walls, reaching Anchorage, Wasilla, and Kenai. In 2017, as the gang expanded its presence outside, internal disputes turned deadly. That summer, Fuhrer ordered senior members Roy Naughton, Glenn Baldwin, Craig King, Bo Cook, and Coulter Odell to discipline Michael Staton, nicknamed Steak Knife, who had been accused of stealing drugs and a motorcycle vest belonging to King, a Hells Angels associate. Staton was lured to an Anchorage meeting by Nicholas Kozora and Dustin Clowers, then driven to an abandoned house in Wasilla. There, witnesses said, he was told he was losing his patch, beaten, bound with duct tape, stuffed into a car trunk, and taken to King's duplex. What followed was torture and execution. Staton was shot, his body burned, and the remains discarded in a remote area. The demise triggered a sweeping federal investigation. Prosecutors showed that Fuhrer had turned the 1488s into a fully organized criminal enterprise that trafficked narcotics, weapons, and violence both inside and outside Alaska's prisons. In May 2022, a federal jury convicted Fuhrer, Naughton, Baldwin, Odell, and King on charges of racketeering conspiracy, kidnapping resulting in death, and in aid of racketeering. By January 2023, each had been sentenced to life in federal prison without parole. Prosecutors said the case delivered a devastating blow to the 1488s, effectively dismantling their leadership and ending a reign of terror built on racism, intimidation, and brutality. The case of Anchorage defense attorney Justin Facey has shaken Alaska's legal community, exposing an extraordinary intersection of organized crime, addiction, and corruption inside the state's justice system.
At 6, an Alaska attorney the feds say was part of a cartel pleaded not guilty in federal court today to drug trafficking and firearms charges. 44-year-old Justin Facey appeared very somber in an Anchorage federal courtroom this morning in connection to a case where prosecutors previously charged more than 50 people connected to what they've called an expansive Alaska drug trafficking ring. Prosecutors say that between April of 2024 and April of this year, Facey used his Anchorage home to distribute and use controlled substances, namely fentanyl and methamphetamine, and also says he illegally had multiple guns. Prosecutors say Facey worked with a California prisoner who ran the drug ring by texting from prison. Prosecutors also say that when law enforcement interviewed Facey's former clients, they said he coerced sex to pay for his legal representation. And back in February, the Alaska Bar suspended Facey following numerous complaints.
Federal prosecutors allege that Facey, once a licensed criminal defense lawyer, spiraled into drug addiction, use, and deep criminal entanglement with a transnational trafficking ring that imported various drugs from Mexico into Alaska. According to court filings, Facey developed an ounce-a-day meth habit and began working closely with Heraclio Leo Sanchez Rodriguez, the California-based leader of a violent drug organization already linked to multiple deletions, including the 2023 double deletion of 2 women in Trapper Creek. Investigators monitoring encrypted communications between Sanchez Rodriguez and Facey discovered that the Anchorage attorney had not only been using drugs but was also helping the gang logistically, even offering to smuggle one of the traffickers out of Alaska by arranging for a pilot to fly him from Merrill Field. The plan fell apart when the flight was unavailable, but the exchange demonstrated how far Facey's criminal involvement had gone. Prosecutors say Facey described himself as a cartel lawyer and frequently bragged about representing the organization. In one message, he allegedly boasted that the cartel literally threw a duffel bag from a moving vehicle onto my roof to hire me. Federal filings state that the traffickers compensated him in both drugs and cash, and in return, Facey provided advice on laundering proceeds, hiding narcotics, and dealing with law enforcement. At one point, he reportedly asked Sanchez Rodriguez to have an associate assault someone he was in a dispute with, an attack law enforcement was able to intercept before it happened. The investigation also revealed disturbing conduct toward his clients and vulnerable women. Witness statements and victims' interviews describe Facey coercing female clients into sex acts in exchange for legal services and paying others, including a so-called housekeeper, with various drugs instead of money. One woman told investigators that Facey used meth, up to an ounce per day, and lived in filth, calling him a drug addict, a pig, and a disgusting slob. Another alleged that Facey shortchanged a pregnant woman he had solicited for sex, paying her only $60 and a small bag of meth instead of the agreed $80. By early 2025, the Alaska Bar Association had suspended Facey's license after a wave of misconduct complaints. Following his disbarment, he reportedly turned to street-level Fendi dealing to support himself, targeting drug-dependent women. On February 26, 2025, Facey was arrested in Anchorage and charged federally with maintaining a drug-involved premises and possessing firearms in connection with drug trafficking. A search of his home uncovered various drugs and multiple weapons. Given his previous position as a defense attorney, Alaska's U.S. Attorney's Office recused itself from prosecuting the case to avoid conflicts of interest. The case was reassigned to a special prosecutor from the Northern District of New York. Facey made his initial court appearance the following day and was ordered held without bond pending further proceedings. At the time of his arrest, Facey was described by prosecutors as a man who had adopted the persona of a cartel attorney and fully committed to the bit, his addiction, arrogance, and recklessness turning him from a member of the state's legal community into an active participant in one of Alaska's largest narcotics conspiracies. His downfall stands as one of the most shocking examples of corruption and self-destruction in Alaska's legal history, a cautionary tale about how addiction, greed, and ego can erase even the strongest professional boundaries. Alaska may be the nation's final frontier, but these cases prove it's no frontier to organized crime. From prison-born neo-Nazi movements to street-level bloods and cartel infiltration, the state's law enforcement agencies are facing a modern battlefield of drugs, guns, and digital coordination. The Fairview MOB linked Anchorage to California. The 1488s turned prisons into hate-fueled militias. And Justin Facey, a lawyer turned criminal, blurred the line between law and lawlessness. Together, these stories tell one chilling truth. Alaska's isolation no longer shields it from America's underworld. Whether through social media, smuggling routes, or human greed, the same currents driving gang violence in Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York now run beneath the northern ice. Yet amid the chaos, the resilience of Alaska's justice system and community stands firm, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the Arctic, accountability still reaches those who think they're beyond its grasp.